And let me start with a quote that I read yesterday. One thing is for sure, the earth is now more cultivated and developed than ever before. There is more farming with pure force, swamps are drying up, and cities are springing up on an unprecedented scale. We have become a burden to our planet. Resources are becoming scarce, and soon nature will be unable to satisfy our needs. That was circa 200 AD Rome. So the issues around being economically vibrant, around being socially harmonious, and around being environmentally resilient are not something that plague only us today. They have plagued humanity for centuries to come. Some cities have dealt with it well and still continue to live today for hundreds of years. Others have died and moved on, and new cities have taken their place. What is critical, therefore, for us is to realize that what needs to be addressed cannot be addressed by just the policymakers or the government, not just by the planners or the academia, but it also needs private businesses, private sector enterprises, and civic society to participate in this whole process of creating sustainable environments. And so I just want to take a few minutes to talk about three key themes that I personally find extremely interesting in terms of examples of how different people have looked at innovating around creating sustainable cities. The first theme is around flexibility of space, the second is around citizen sourcing, and the third is around crafting an urban canvas. And I'd like to start with the third because it's something that we spoke about in the first panel today, which is how do you integrate existing urban environments through the application of art and culture. Sanjana's Brazil experience was one standing example of how cities have used art and culture. The Philadelphia Mural Arts Program is an outstanding example of how a city has gone about changing the face of what was seen as ghettos, driven by crime, into not just a part of the tourist landscape of the city, but also a location which today has 30% lower crime rates than it ever had before, just by adopting art and culture into the fabric of that society. So I think there are interesting examples even in our own country. You look at what was done in Chandigarh around using a recycled waste and building Nations Park. Examples of how there are small ways we can still contribute today, small ways we can make a difference to actually recraft the urban canvas. The second theme that I spoke about was around flexibility of space. I think again very, very interesting work going on in how you can actually use the same land or the same built environment for different uses at different points in time to meet the needs of different demographics. There was a whole article about pop-up cities, pop-up installations. I think pop-up installations is something which is not new. It's about bringing in exhibitions and theatres through short-term structures, dismantling and moving on. A classic case study that was written about was the Kumbh Mela, which was seen as the largest pop-up city in the world. 1 million people getting in there for 45 days, all of the infrastructure being created on what was otherwise washed by the Ganges, and again being re-put back to the original situation. I'm not saying all of what was done there was correct, but I think there are interesting insights coming in terms of how people look at making the environment more elastic, making the environment more flexible, both in terms of land use and in terms of the built environment. And it really goes back to what Sirish was talking about, how do you create more with less. And last but not the least, we spoke about leading change, inspiring change. Citizen sourcing, I think, is something which has not really been harnessed very well in our country as yet. It is an effort to bring in collective resources together to create a better society. Again, great examples from Brazil. There is a scheme that they run there which is called Waste by the Pound scheme, which is about how the citizens are encouraged to give back recycled waste. So you actually use waste as currency. They hand over waste by the pound, and based on the weight of the recycled waste given back, they get fresh farm produce. So you're encouraging organic farming, you're encouraging healthy eating habits, you're creating a sustainable food chain, but you're also recycling waste. Confluence is in its early days. It is just a beginning. It is a beginning in terms of bringing people together to at least share thoughts, share ideas, and talk about these issues. But I think the real test for Confluence will be when we're actually able to take it out there, influence policy, influence innovation, influence ideas, and actually make a difference. The Mahindra Group had recently announced the $1 Million Challenge, which is about how can we drive the future of mobility and how can we actually drive renewable energy solutions for housing use by putting out challenges to civic society, to consumers, to normal people, to scientists, to anybody who actually wants to make a difference and is able to use that money to create innovative ideas around driverless cars and do-it-yourself kits for homes, for solar energy. This is one effort from our side to really look at how can we actually allow application of thought to go into action and be used to the benefit of larger society. And I'm sure Confluence will enable us to create many more such opportunities of ideas that can become thought in action. Thank you.